For your Caesar, Cardiff City ride with me for your Caesar. For your Caesar, Cardiff City get litty for your Caesar. She want a diff boy, swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. She want a diff boy, swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. For your Caesar, grab a little something for your Caesar. We the geezers, swagger stone cold like freezers. She want a diff boy, she want Starvz, not Fitzroy. She want a diff boy, she want Starvz, not Fitzroy. She want a big man, says she want a man from...
Good evening all, welcome back to Cardiff City World. I'm your host Evan James. Joined with me tonight on the Terrace Take, or Terrace Talk, however you say it, or whatever you want to interpret it as, is none other than Aaron. Thank you very much again for joining me.
No, thank you for having me again. I appreciate it.
So, right, how are we doing? Are we still living off the highs of the unbeaten run?
Still living on cloud nine, you know, enjoying the Brian Barry Murphy train and all the excitement it brings as well.
Is any part of you sort of thinking, "Oh, this is all great, but when's it going to end?" Or you still just carrying on like just as it is?
Just got to live for the now, haven't you? And live for the dream, you know. So I'm enjoying it. You know, the bubble will burst eventually, but enjoy it while it's there.
Oh mate, you got to, haven't you? But yeah. So only planning, right? I always say this. We always say, "Oh, it'll be a quick show, 45 minutes in and out." But if it goes on longer, it does. I've got work in the morning, so I'll try my best. But I'll be tired anyway, whatever happens. So let's see what you're saying. Let's see, say hi and even to everyone. Oh my god, I can't even speak tonight. What's going on? Steve Davis, hello, good evening. Hi chaps, is there news on no show? Any other incomings or outgoings? I'll come back to you on that one, Steve. Probably I'm not the best person to speak to. Let's see what else. Time is getting short. Maybe everything will be done last day. I did hear BBM say about he wanted about 3 before the window closes. I think pretty will get into it, but you never let mind. Let's just address it now, right? Anything to comment on Steve Davis there, or anything you can or can't say? I don't know much in terms of transfer business, if I'm being honest. Things have been kept really quiet by the sounds of things.
Well, pretty much other than that, he's in the city. You know, it's not a secret that he's had his medical. It's not a secret that everything's been agreed. In my opinion, it's just a case of the domino effect of certain players having to move on before someone comes in. But you know, what an exciting appointment, you know, a signing that Osho is going to be for Cardiff City, you know. So what I would say to all the fans is just trust the process. The club are doing very well at the minute of keeping these, you know, these signings sort of quiet and that, because it's probably the first season that I've known for a long time where we're actually going for players that are probably well above the standard that we're at. You know, we can criticize them for previous years with some of the targets that we've gone for, but you can't really knock the players that they're bringing in. You know, that's Brian as well as the transfer committee this time. So I think it's going to be like Christmas now for the next week, but I'm very excited. I'm sure everyone else is going to be very, very excited for the players that are coming in.
Hopefully it's basically Nathan Trott, but like a defender version instead, and doesn't use his hands. But yeah, it'd be interesting, because I think we've only made one signing, and that signing has been just, well, let's just say so far anyway, it's been really much of a delight to watch him play, and he's already saved us, Nathan Trott, and you can see I've still got him as my banner sort of thing, because I don't know, I just think that the fact that we only signed one player, and that one player that we have signed has been really good so far, it does fill me with confidence. It does make me sort of like have more patience and not having to worry about, you know, when the transfers come in. I know there will be more that come in before the deadline, or at least, you know, we can only hope. But like I say, until it happens, we're always going to be in this stage of limbo, thinking like, oh, I'm not sure if, you know, we're really on his side with this. But like I do like, obviously, quality over quantity. But at the same time, in my personal opinion, I do think we do need quite a few bodies in for backup. But saying that, though, he says he wants to work with a smallish squad just so that everyone's got an equal competition for their place. I just worry now about like mainly injuries as well, because no doubt only Perringer's just come back. Same with Robertson, but I think he's only just training, because he wasn't in the cup game, was he?
No.
No. So I think he's still maybe a little bit off yet. So it's like, again, it only takes 1 or 2 more injuries. And like, if we had anything like the season we did, I think it was the one where we finished 12th with the background you got now. I think we had like 3 or 4 key players out for the majority of the season, Ramsey and O'Dowd. And it was just like the fact that we finished 12th that season or 13th, I can't remember now, it blows my mind to think we're sitting here in League One now. But at the same time, maybe this League One reset, I guess you could call it. I mean, I'm if it weren't for Brian Murphy coming in or Tan appointing him, I think we'd be in a lot bigger mess right now. I don't think there's any way we're signing players like Nathan Trott or potentially Osho. What do you think? Different manager? Maybe if it was like Ian Everett or something, or Dave Challoner, do you think we're signing this caliber of player?
No, you're absolutely right. Brian, has a reputation within the academies and around the clubs. He may not have that reputation with fans, but he's definitely got it within the sort of club structure. What I will say is, and it was made evident very early on that, Cardiff City had an influx of players they were looking to sign over the summer. Brian's come along and said that he doesn't want any of them. It's a testament to the type and the style of play that he's looking to create, and we have to trust that process. And you know what? We look at the squad he's got now and the injuries that we're starting to have, and we're still turning over results. We've also got, a very competitive under 23s team, which a lot of them probably deserve to be in and around that first team that can't even push in there at the moment. And then we're looking at supplementing that with, really quality players, after Osho, another 2 players, and that's only things that we can be excited about, and I believe that when Ollie sort of got injured, and then there was Nakakawa that's sort of falling. There's just these little gems that keep falling into our team that just excite me. Players I've never seen before, but they're putting in shifts, and there's not an element of depth for quality in the sense of people that we're established and know about. But these players that are stepping up from the under 23s are showing that they deserve to be there. And to be fair, I wouldn't have that. Some of the players that have left last year, I wouldn't replace them with them, or any other player within our league. So, no, I think that, we've just got to trust the process, I believe.
Yeah, I think so many managers say that. It's like, trust the process, let him cook and all that sort of, all those sayings. But it is really rare, though, that you find someone like Brian Murphy who just gets the club. He just knows everything. Like you would probably let him control the whole club if he had the brain capacity to do so, to manage that many different things. Because it seems like him and Lee Riley and his team that he's brought in, very, very thorough in terms of who they're bringing in. They're very, very picky. Whereas, like you said, I think the board, and this is so Cardiff City board that they most likely had a list of players, be like, okay, these are the players we want you to look at. And you got the choice of these, and BBM's probably just gone no, scrap that completely. I have my own idea, and it shows that he's not afraid. I mean, he's been given a 3-year deal, so the last thing he's going to do is get fired at that stage. But he showed he's not afraid to basically rip the whole plan up and just start a plan B completely fresh from new. Because I think you realize early on that this club is not what it should be, but there's certain decision making, let's say, that is just keeping us tied to where we are. And it's horrible that I have this feeling all the time of we win, we go and beat it for 5 games. My mind's still on the fact of when are we going to lose our first game? Is it going to be against Plymouth because they're out of form? We've been programmed into feeling that way for so long. I think it is super refreshing, but also I am a bit skeptical, thinking, okay, it was only Port Vale that we kind of had a reality check. But since then, we've been ruthless against most teams, and for most of the game as well. I've never seen us dominate the game so much in terms of possession. And yes, I know, especially against Luton, we could have had a few more goals, but at the end of the day, we controlled most of that game aside from a few little slips, and we came away with a result. And you can't really ask for much more than that, because at that point, are you being greedy if you're saying, oh, well, we should have put 2 or 3 past Luton? I don't know, what's your thoughts then? Because at the moment we're winning. Do you think that I don't know how to say this. Everyone has high standards, right? Because we're winning and winning and winning. Is that first loss, when we inevitably have it, do you think, going to help us bounce back harder? or do you think that might be, where we kind of find our feet and realize? I don't know how to word the question, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so I sort of allude back to that Port Vale game, and it was a poor game, and it was a sort of a reality check, as you said, but it was also a testament and a learning curve to a team that showed actually fight and a bit of dog about them. And you know what, they should have lost the game, but they somehow scraped the point, and they'll become better and stronger for it, especially at that age. And I think in life, you win some, you lose some, and it's how you bounce back from that. But there's a strange belief that I have that I think if we were to lose a game, I just know that Brian would be able to instill a new confidence that they would go again. This squad, and I think obviously the goalkeeper the other day after the game sort of spoke about the dressing room, and you can just see there's a clear enthusiasm to enjoy themselves, to play, to represent the club. But just to sort of keep it simple, there's a clear dynamic that any of the dramas of last season are gone, any of the sort of negativity's gone, and I think we win together, we lose together, and you can see that everyone's pulling in this sort of one direction. Even when we're celebrating at the full time, even Brian's not getting too involved. He's letting the players enjoy it. He's letting the fans enjoy it. And this feels like the Cardiff City of old. I think the board is starting to learn a bit. And I just feel like, just to answer your question, I feel like we're going to have losses, but I just feel like for some reason we're going to be bouncing back. I just feel there's too much quality there to think. But then I don't see us losing many games because the variations, the players that we have at our disposal just won't allow that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people, I think it helps when people underestimate you as well, because I think everyone sort of, to be fair, a lot of people, including the bookies, predicted us second or third, I think, in the table. And if I'm being honest, and I try to hold myself back, because every season I always predict us higher than what I feel, because it's the club you support, so of course you want them, to win, you want the best for them. But this season, I think my initial predictions before BBM come in, I think was about 10th. And look, I mean, again, it's very early in the season. I keep saying I have to keep saying that. But I don't see us slipping it for long, going an entire period where we go 5-6 games where we just can't seem to string a win, because there were so many periods last season, or even like the last 3-4 years since we come back down for the Prem. We might have a good run, but after that good run, it would either be a player gets sent off for a match, or a big player gets an injury, or whatever. And then from that point, we just never seem the same without that one player. I mean, I think every time Kiefer Moore got injured for us, we just didn't seem to have that clinical sort of finish, even though we had the likes of Harry Wilson. It's like those two worked together really well. When it was someone else, like, I don't know, Mark McGuinness or Aidan Flint, and I'm not saying they were amazing players for us, but it only took that one injury or something to disrupt the flow of the squad, and then we wouldn't be the same. Again, Alex Robertson and Turnbull, they worked really well together until I think Alex Robertson got injured or ill. I can't remember what it was. And then we never really saw that partnership again. But the way I see it, and the way you perfectly summed it up, is that we've got such a good conveyor belt of prosperous youth and people who are dying to get into this squad. And to think that we, relentlessly 90 minutes almost are just pressing and winning the ball back straight away. We're not just looking to just lump the ball up to the striker and hope for the best and try and score. We're actually looking to actively dominate the entire match to have good performances and results as well. And that's something I've never seen in Cardiff City. And I will go through the rest of the comments that I'll later respond to that. But also, just so I remind myself later on, I want to talk about like Wales call-ups a bit and our new cup draw. But carry on. Sorry, are you going to answer to that?
Yeah, so, I always had this sort of aspiration of, what would Cardiff City, in my opinion, be a successful season. And to me, it was a respectable league position, like you said, above the 10th mark, but actually to get a lot of those younger players within that first team and sort of develop and bond and, make them better players this season and have a real crack next year. And for some reason, Brian seems to have the balance of the both. And what excites me the most is there's no fear. In the games, like when things are not going well or the rough challenges are coming against the youngsters, we just step up to it and we sort of, keep stepping on. And there's moments, big injuries like the Tanner injuries and stuff, and then people just take it upon themselves to carry it. You know, we're all at the moment we're criticising senior players because they're maybe not performing or not scoring, but then you've got younger players that are stepping up and sort of filling the void and taking the mantle on. You know, you've got Ruben Colwell as captain. He's still a very young lad. You know, irrelevant family appearances as lad. You know, Lawler. You know, as a centre half who's, to be fair, bullying some of the League One strikers, which I never expected. You know, Joe Bagan putting some of those really rash challenges, but not shirking away from it. And I think, you know, this sort of season, we're going to have to sort of, there's going to be moments as fans, but, you know, we're probably not going to like, there's going to be spells when we are going to lose some games, but we've also got to take it into consideration of where, you know, where we are and what we're going through at the moment. But I think anything above that mark of, you know, 7th or 8th, I think will be a great success. But
yeah, I mean, the only worry is, right, because there's such a demand to get back up. There's so many motives behind getting promoted straight away. The obvious being the value of the club itself, which is a huge one. I mean, I'm not sure how much percentage-wise it goes up, but like I'm assuming that Tam wants us to get back up and stay another year just so he gets the best bang for his buck, let's say. But then it's not just that, but I'm thinking like, look, now I'm a bit more reassured because we've got Dylan Lawler on a 3-year deal. I feel like there's got to be some kind of like bonuses or promotion clauses, something in there, because I find for someone who's so young, you think, right, I want to get this guy. He's only like 19 or so. I would have straight away given a 5-year deal, and maybe they've only given him 3 years just to, you know, make them earn their contracts. Because you know what it is, some players, they get the new contract and then they feel like, oh, I'm sound now, I got this, and they ease off the gas a bit. And you know, it's only natural to do that. But I just feel like if we don't get promoted this season, there's going to be at least 2 or 3 of our better players to move on, whether they want to or not. And I find that I don't know. I can't see all our players staying if we don't get promoted naturally. But I think some of our better ones might go. But you know, that's so far away at the moment, and we got so much to be excited for so far. And the window hasn't even closed, which is mad to think. I did see your comment, sorry, yeah, but it's mad to see how the window's still going on. But yeah, let's before I lose my mind, I can't even speak tonight. I'm not sure what's happening. Let's just say evening to everyone else. We've got Stephen Morgan, evening. Chris Hayward, Graham as well. Never dull moments. Sod Wrexham, get the cameras down the city. Certificate, of course, yeah. Sue's evening Mark Cox as well. Always Susan, Mark Cox, always, and Graham, to be fair. Well, a lot of regulars on the channel. Give us some good news. Can we have some sign-ins? I mean, kind of brushed over that a little bit, but I suppose you can only say what you can say, isn't it? I know it's Trotter's class. We will miss him. Saturday, Turner starts in goal for the mighty Bluebirds. Yeah, did he hurt his ankle or something? Or there was a bit of like a strain or something, but you could tell afterwards he wasn't put on goal kicks. Like Chambers was taking them.
Yeah, I believe it was a bit of a calf strain from what I was told. So
right.
I think the club are very clever at just protecting players. So obviously I don't know the prognosis of how far he'll be out, but I'm sure he's a massive part of this team. But Turner's a great understudy, isn't he? So confidence either way, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have a good backup, but at the same time, I think they did the same with Isaac Davis. I think they in the preseason friendly, I think it was in Notts County. I think they put him on and then brought him off quite quick, and you know, we all thought, oh, he's injured and all that, and then we were reassured that it's not an injury. He just, you know, it's a precursor or whatever, precaution. And I'd rather them do that because in the past it feels like we try to play through it sometimes, but he's probably told them BBM, say, like, if you feel anything that's not normal, request a sub straight away, because at least then you could possibly prevent 3-4 months out or more instead of just a couple of weeks maybe. Because these kids are kids for a lot of the part. They're playing a lot of games, and that's my big worry. But at the same time, you know, it's gone well so far. Sue says, what do you make of the cup draw? So nice segue onto that. Burnley away.
Oh, it's a journey. I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think they need to drop the ticket prices. I've seen some of the ticket prices are a bit 15, 20 quid a ticket. You know, I think it's a bit unfair, especially for the Carabao Cup, isn't it? But you know, I know we travel well. We travel in numbers, and The last time we went to Bourne, I think it was when he got promoted, weren't it? It weren't the greatest of days, but I'm confident. It's one of those games. Have you seen Burnley's fixtures around that? They've got some really
No,
tough
I haven't.
games.
No.
United, City, there's some Everton, I want to say. So they're in and about, especially with the position that they're going to be within the Premier League. So probably not a better time to be actually playing them, to be fair.
Yeah, the thing is, that's how I saw it, because I remember my dad just telling me about it. I completely forgot the cup draw was on. I think I just finished work, and I was like, oh, like Burnley away. It's like, you know what? That's actually right, because it's one of the newly promoted teams of the Premier League. I highly doubt their main focus is going to be cup competitions, but you don't know what Scott Parker has got for them. And look, I no doubt they have quality in the squad, like most teams, really. I mean, even in League One, there's some decent teams, but I can't see Scott Parker. It is Scott Parker, isn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Correct, yeah.
they didn't. I think it was Daniel Farke that was rumored to get replaced, and they didn't. But Scott Parker, I doubt he's going to play his best team for the Carabao Cup. For saying that, they're still going to have a fairly strong squad. They're going to play probably a few of the youngsters. I think if we'd had a really an easier team, I think Grimsby beat Man United, didn't they? If we maybe had them or someone similar, we might have been a bit disappointed to be like, oh, have them away, because it's like, oh, whatever. But equally, a lot of us before we'd wish for a really big team to have them home. And I don't know. See, the cup games for me, I take them as they come. Like if we get a really big team, I'd be like, okay, well, it's been a nice run in the cup, and then that's about it. Like if it's a big game, go down and see it. Apart from that, I'm not too bothered. But I shouldn't say that really. But
I know Brian's comments in his presser were that he would just prefer a home tie. He didn't mind who he played against, but it was just a home tie. And I think Burnley's one of the worst.
Yeah. I suppose, because it's away, it doesn't really help. But I'm sure we'll give them a good game, and I just want to see some of the players who haven't got as much minutes, or maybe a few youngsters get some game time, just getting them exposed to football, because we've only played 5 games, and Lawler's just now, I think, sort of adjusted to the level of men's football. So I think we all had really high expectations for him for the start, and then when we saw him play Peterborough, he did okay, but that was his first proper game. Well, aside from Aston Villa, I think. But he was sensational in the Aston Villa. All players were there. Louis Giles as well. Can't remember who else played in that game that was as a youngster. But, you can't fault any of them, really, can you? Whether they win, lose, or draw. And it was nice as well when Mafiko got sent off. When he got subbed off against Rotherham, I think it was. And just everyone just showing the love for him. And, we wouldn't have had that before if I was a senior player or something. Or, for Max Waters, it happened before. And that was handled a very different way, but it's nice to show that the fans have got some patience. I can see now. Oh, that's Susan. Jonathan says, can't understand why Ruben isn't in the Welsh squad. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'd be biased. I can't understand how either of them, either Colwills, aren't in. But if he wants to rest them, that's fine with me.
I think the problem is, isn't it? We're comparing it to Liam Cullens and that in the world that shouldn't probably be in there. But then he's also up against the people like Harry Wilson and that. I think what will be testing for Ruben is if Wilson and that doesn't make the squad now because of an injury, if he's not on that standby list to be called up. I think he deserves to be there. You can't knock what he's done. In the first 5 or 6 games this year. But I don't know.
I saw a comment on it was Instagram or Facebook, I can't remember, earlier. And, people saying, I understand, Bellamy's comment saying how he's not ready, blah, blah, blah. But recently you can see that he can turn up in League One. And yes, it is a lower standard, but Josh Sheehan got called up and he plays for Bolton. That was last season, and that sort of blows my mind. We're playing Ollie Cooper, Liam Cullen, and Josh Sheehan. And yes, I know the Swansea players or have some links, but if I'm being honest, they didn't exactly impress me that much. I mean,
I just hope that those comments are just to push Ruben on to sort of the next level and just sort of know that he's a better player than, and hope he has higher aspirations for Ruben, to be fair. But I'd also be saying how well Joel's played this season, and he's not getting a nod against some of those the midfielder options as opposed to Ruben with the attacking options, because I think he warrants a place in there, especially with, you know, Craig's comments regarding wanting it to be a younger squad and forward planning, etc., and playing a certain type of football. You know, those comments go against what you've left out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is it. It's like Ruben is probably because he's doing well, but it's in League One, and like again, I could just say the Sheehan sort of thing, right? I mean, yeah, like, I think it's different though. National teams is different. It's not so. I mean, Christ, we had Gareth Bale. I think maybe who else is it? And Ramsey. The only two players who were in like the top division. The rest of them were Championship or below. And I mean, we got to the semi-finals, you know, against Portugal in that Euros 2016. So I think it's a bit sort of like, what do you call it, robotic, or like set in stone paper. Just, you know, look on paper. Oh yeah, he's a League One player, so we can't have him. I think Bellamy doesn't just think about that, but at the same time, I don't know how much more you can hold back and say, no, you know, I'm doing this for his good sort of thing and pushing him to be his best. I still think he still outperforms Liam Cullen and Ollie Cooper combined. No disrespect to them. Again, I know I'm going to have that bias and people are going to say that because obviously Cardiff fans. But I genuinely don't understand, because they're decent players, but they haven't really set the world alight as someone like Jordan James, for example. I think Joel Colwell, I feel like they're quite similar in terms of how they play. They're proper box-to-box. It would have been amazing if we signed Jordan James, right? But that was never really going to happen, was it?
The only sort of defence you can give Craig Bellamy is that, you know, he's sort of getting the results right, and Wales are in a strong position. So we've got to trust the process and the football. It's just obviously, as Cardiff City fans and what we watch every week, we just think, you know, that they deserve the right to be there, to be fair. But football's a game of opinions, isn't it? And until Wales have a poor stretch, you know, we can't have an opinion of what Craig's doing is absolutely right at the moment.
Yeah, I just saw the comment before Graham said, I think that, you know, we can't be complaining. We kind of nitpicking away because we're getting results, and that's what matters. And of course, we're going to want to see our lads get called up, but at the same time, it's early on the season. I mean, God knows how many international breaks are in every season. It's ridiculous how many times football stops for that. But you know, there's plenty of time, and the main thing is just I don't want them getting injured yet. I saw Jonathan put there, so wake me up before you go. Who needs McGuinness when we've got Osho?
Love that.
Yeah, I'm sure we could replace that with a different centre back, maybe one with 2 syllables, but maybe it works better. Just as a musician myself, is it going to be 2 more than with Osho? Well, I mean, you can just nod or shake your head to that, I guess, and that's about it. Allegedly, saw somewhere. Oh god, I literally can't speak on short. I saw somewhere earlier that there was a meet and greet with BBM and some supporters.
There was indeed. Yeah, it was at one of the pubs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, definitely. Sorry, I think the audio just went really loud for a second for me, but it's all good. Steve, oh my god. Craig Bellamy is the new Steve Clark with his strange squad picks. I don't know. I didn't say it's strange. Just if we win, we win. You know, he's clearly got a level head. He clearly knows what he's doing. It's just a question I have. I'm not sure how certain players get ahead of others. Maybe they just buy into the system better at the moment. I'm not sure. Maybe he's looking for reaction from others. Like we can't really dissect his brain. You know, he's never going to reveal his 100% gameplay tactics, is he? So.
The one area of the pitch that Wales do have a number of options, so I would say that.
Yeah. Luton fans see that I seen a post we gave Cardiff money to buy McGuinness to play Osho in no time at all. Cardiff buy Osho, whose world's better than McGuinness. They really peed off at this deal. That is quite ironic, isn't it? Getting Osho, well, allegedly getting Osho and McGuinness going over there. We basically scammed them out of all that money. If I'm being honest, right, McGuinness for us, I really thought was, you know, a good player. He had a mistake in him like every centre back did, if I'm being honest. But I just genuinely thought he was so composed, he was quality. And I would love to see McGuinness and Lawler play together at one point. And it was sad. I was sad to see him go. But the fact that we got a good chunk of money for him was probably the first time Cardiff actually overvalued one of our players maybe, or maybe just valued them as they were at the time. Again, you've got to think as well, Luton's aspirations were to get back to the Prem, and you can't say that one player that you signed was the reason you got relegated, because it clearly wasn't. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else to say to that.
It's nice, isn't it? We've been always sort of criticised for signing players like the Corneliuses of the world. We're spending £10 million on so and so, and X amount on this, and also selling players of what we've believed have been more valuable. So it's nice that we've actually generated more revenue on somebody, and actually they've gone on and probably not performed as well as another club had hoped. But to be fair, like you just said it there in the comments. We've sold McGuinness for 10 million, and we brought Osho in for an absolute fraction of that. I know it hasn't been announced yet, and their fans are saying the same. Is light years ahead. So we are making big improvements. We are saving money. We are ticking every box that we sort of need to at this moment in time. So the club are actually getting something right for a change.
Well, I can't remember what I was going to say there to that. I was just going to John's comment. We'd like to see Ruben and Joel start tomorrow. We're playing tomorrow?
Saturday,
I think, yeah. I'm sorry, tonight, I don't know what's happened with me. As soon as I hit live, I just can't speak. I'm not sure why. It's just one of those days, maybe. But yeah, good to see a class goalkeeper with a class centre-back coming in. Can't get any better. And having heard even more coming in, can only get a stronger squad. Yeah, I said at the start, Steve, that if he's only brought in a world-class keeper, it'd be mad to think who else he's going to bring in. And to think that we're actually getting these permanent signings as well. I'm sure there will be one or two loans maybe, but a thought of the fact we're tying... Well, I mean, Nathan Trott is a loan, but loan with option to buy. I'm already thinking just signing now anyway, just pay the money. But I'm not sure if we've got any money at the moment to really be chucking out on players, because I don't know.
Trust the process, It's going to be very interesting with Osho coming in, who they pick at centre half alongside him. So I'm sure he's not going to come as a sub. Fish has been probably the more dominant centre half. Dawler's playing exceptionally well, but I think Fish is what he brings to Cardiff City. I think is unreal at the moment. He's just that dynamic to set up attacks from the back. So it's a very interesting. It's also a great option for Brian to. I think the competition for places is going to be absolutely massive in the coming week.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's it. I mean, you don't want to disrupt your back line too much, but there are going to be plenty of cup games. I know that Osho's not going to want to be sitting on the bench, but neither other centre backs really. Chambers didn't really want to sit on the bench, and look at him. He was named club captain by the players, and he hasn't really started many games, has he? I mean, he was that cup game he started the other night, and maybe a couple of others, but for the majority of games, I think he has been a sub, if I'm not wrong in saying. So,
you're right. But what I do like about Chambers, is the way he's been playing. Form-wise, has not been great, but he's led very well, and he's not sort of had an attitude. He hasn't come onto the pitch and started whinging a moment. He's just getting himself stuck in, going about his business, and he's been quite tidy since he's been coming off the bench. And so that's what you need from a captain. You need somebody that does that, and you can see sort of. I disagree that he should be club captain on ability, but I can sort of see on the pitch what he's bringing, and I think he does a lot with the younger players, and obviously you hear the stuff behind the scenes of what he's doing around the training ground, so I can sort of get that decision, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's two different stories there. There's ability, and then there's sort of like the effect on the morale. I think, to be fair, I never really seen Chambers kick off like in front, because you see some players like you can tell sometimes there were issues in the dressing rooms because it kind of bled onto the pitch a bit and the fans pick it up. I don't think I've rarely seen Chambers not acting quite composed, even if he has just made a mistake, and I genuinely think, I never thought to say this, but I think his best position right now is right back. I know it's the position he says he doesn't want to play, but if I'm being honest, he has a decent cross as well. He can cross the ball well. You could tell he's played there before. Yes, he doesn't have the pace, but against certain oppositions, you can get away with that. He can invert into midfield if like similar to Perry and G. I don't think he's such like an attacking wing back or full back or whatever. but he was our player of the season for 2 years in a row for a reason, because at times he did get forward and he was our deadly set piece taker. I think with Chambers so far, I think Willock now has only just sort of found his feet. It's taken him a good year, and I think we have been harsh on him, but at the same time, we can only critique and criticize what's in front of us. I feel like playing Willock as someone who drifts into the midfield, I think, is much better for him and has suited him well. I mean, he scored the goal because he went through the middle. And I say I've been screaming for ages, play him at number 10, and it seems like he does kind of rotate a bit. Maybe it's just a case of finding that position for Chambers. I just still think it's at the moment it's too much of a risk to just put him at centre back. But again, that's my view on it.
I do think Chambers is trusted by Brian as a finisher. I think you get a good 20, 25 minutes out of him of just being solid, just getting City up the pitch and sort of keeping it tight. I think it almost feels like he's the go-to man when it's defending a lead or around that 70, 75 minute mark. I think that's what his role is at the moment. And whether it stays that way, I don't know. But I mean, I feel
yes. Going to be interesting because we have another centre back on the picture now. I don't know. I'm just hoping it's not going to ruffle too many feathers. But you got to, at the end of the day, no matter whether you're signed in with the biggest wages or not, you have still got to compete. And BBM showing he's not discriminating against wages. You say, like, if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. But I see a comment from Wayne Richards here say, see the Plymouth press conference, and Tom Cleverley is pretty sure that his side are going to take all 3 points against the Bluebirds. Looking forward to what he's got to say after the game. What do you make of that?
It's just all mind games, isn't it? I think Brian's very good at just leaving his talking on the pitch. Tom Cleverley can say what he wants. He has egg on his face if they don't fulfill that now. But
that wasn't so clever of him, was it?
Yeah, just worry about Cardiff City. He can worry about Plymouth, and whatever happens. But at the end of the day, they've invested quite a lot this season, haven't they? And I don't know. You always have to be mindful for what you say.
Yeah,
I think
I want to look at the league table. So I carry on.
No, I just think sometimes in life we can say some things that we have to sort of regret or humblizes us, and I think Tom Cleverley sometimes falls in that category over his career for things he does say, doesn't it?
It's a bold statement, I suppose, but I mean, hey, look, he's made a bold claim, and not for against us, but for other teams, all power to him. To say that have that bold sort of attitude, and sometimes as we need, you can call it cocky, you can call it confident. It's the same kind of thing. It's just how you perceive it as. And I think, of course, he's going to want to come win. I mean, they've had 4 losses on the bounce, and then they've had their first win. So, that's probably that weight is probably lifted a bit off them now, and they probably fancy us more than we fancy beating them. But I don't know. See, it's like until game day comes, it can be all talk, but again, the football's played on the pitch, isn't it? Not in the press conferences. And, he's probably not going to go into press conference and say, oh, yeah, you know what, I think we're going to lose against Cardiff because they're pretty good. He's not just going to say that, is he? Because that also wouldn't be a smart thing to say. But, I mean, again, you can't say, I just think that we can kind of chuff at it and be like, oh, okay, all right, then let's see it happen. Because at the moment, I don't see... I mean, even last season, we dominated Plymouth for large parts of the game, both games. I think we lost like 3-1 or something to them away. It all fell apart when Gutas got sent off, I think. But, I mean, every team was beating Plymouth last season 4-5-0. We're pumping the numbers. I thought we would just be the only team because it was us who started it. And then all of a sudden, you see everyone else do it. So they haven't really brought in many players who've I been, shocked by, let's say. They've lost that Ryan Hardy to Wrexham, so that's a fair bit of a loss. I don't see them that they brought in anyone that's really going to tear up a League One. I don't know.
No, it's all entertainment, isn't it? But it'll be a very interesting game on Saturday, and I think it's 2 different styles. It's 2 different types of managers, and definitely sort of 2 different sort of directions on investment. So let's see which one comes out on top. I'm really intrigued by it. I think he's such a character, Tom Cleverley. He intrigues me as a manager, but an exciting one. So no, Saturday.
I like him. I think he was decent at Watford, but it's just Watford being Watford, isn't it? When they they're so quick to press the red button and panic.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't. I mean, to be fair, we've been quite like that the last few years, but
But also,
go on, sorry.
Tom Cleverley was one of the names that was interviewed at Cardiff City, wasn't he?
Yeah, and that's like I wouldn't have hated that appointment, but I wasn't blown away by his Watford there. I think he did okay, but I think his hands were tied behind his back to a point as well. I think because they're very quick to fire Watford. So I would hate to think how he turned out at Cardiff if we were a similar way.
No.
But I'll address this now, right? I'll address this like this is. I naturally think worst case and then draw back a little bit. The problem is, right, even as a 23-year-old person, right, I've been following Cardiff City long enough to be made and manifested into this pessimistic being, because this is what is ever since I started like supporting this club. My first season ticket was the season we went up. Okay, everything went downhill from there, so I haven't really had anything else. I wasn't born back in the days when we were at Ninian Park, really. Well, first couple of years maybe, but so naturally the pessimistic side will come first, optimism later. It's just I'm a very skeptical human being, but don't worry, once we get on a 12-game unbeaten run, I'll slowly start to reprogram my mind then. Christ, I've already at 1:45. It's all right. Well, I'm still awake, but we're going to fly through some of these comments now. Okay, both of us now stay positive. Let's have a look. I'm going to scroll quite far down. Just let BBM cook, as my kids say. Yeah, I think you said it before. Yeah, it's just got to wait, isn't it? We're impatient fans. We want to see more now. Let's have a look. You could tell BBM is all in and inspires these players to believe in themselves. And if they make the mistake, they're not. It's the mistakes we're not scared to make of. Like you said, we're playing without fear. It's just so nice to see that, isn't it?
Yeah, and what's lovely as well is I genuinely believe that when Brian came into our club, I don't think he was fully aware of how much ability is here. I believe that there's an absolute wealth of talent that's been hidden within that 23s, 18s that's just never had the opportunity, whether it's the managers or the positions we've been in the championship or the lack of trust. But when you finally get to see it, and he's attending most of the 23 and 18 games, I think he's probably taken back, and it probably readdresses the transfer positions he's looking at and how his squad sort of develops and looks, just because it's a very exciting time. And I don't think he hides that, and I don't think the fans hide it either, do they?
No, exactly. Just I think that is I coach our players as well when they play. Just like you got to play without fear, because at the end of the day, I know you're getting paid to play and all that, but I think it was who was it? I referenced basketball there. There's one person in the comments that hates when I reference basketball, but it's because I coach. But I watch us play, and his name Damian Lillard, and he got interviewed once and asked about do you not find this pressure playing in front of the fans all the time? And similar to how footballers get interviewed, and he just said, "Oh no, I don't. That isn't really pressure. It's like it's quite a privilege to think that that's something that's really pressureful. There's so many people working more dangerous jobs and everything that have to deal with real pressure, and the fact that they get paid to play this sport that they love, and to take all that fear away and just play because you love the sport. I feel like there's so many clubs that don't follow that principle, because whether they're clubs in turmoil from ownership or from other things, it could literally just be a simple case of the dressing room. There could be one player doesn't like another. But I'm not saying that there's never any kind of discontent at the club, or I'm sure there are players that might fall out once in a while a little bit, but you can tell like they're just straight back on the rope. They're not sort of messing about, and they understand that as soon as someone loses their heads, they all know that that's where things fall apart, because there's some senior players at the club who know what it's like to be in that toxic dressing room, let's say. It's just nice to know that you look at those players and think like, yeah, they're not looking to blame other people for bad passes or whatever. They'll lose the ball, they'll win it straight back for their teammates. And I've never seen that since the days we played in the Premier League. But
what there is at Cardiff City as well is there's a Cardiff culture. So behind the scenes, the manager, the players, the staff, everyone buys into what Cardiff City is about. It's probably one of the first seasons that I've seen it, and it talks about what the city's about, what the club's about, what the expectations are about. what the minimum requirements are and what it means to the fans. And you put that together, and it's something that's actually quite inspiring. And I think everyone's bought into that, and you see it on the pitch, and you can see what the results mean to players. You can see what the moments of chaos and anarchy mean to the players. And I think, it's very good because you've got players in there that Matt Turner, the celebration at Swansea, you've got some players that have been through relegations and some players that have been through probably the more positive signs of, what's going on with the sort of younger age groups. And I think you mix it all together and you bring a new manager with new ideas who has this sort of Cardiff City way, he's deeming it and setting the goals and the standards and the expectations. And I think as a cocktail, I think it's a great thing to be part of. And it would be nice for the fans to actually see that of what's going on behind the scenes in that element, because there's a lot of negativity and there's a lot of criticism, which is fully deserved. But I think things are trying to be made right this year, and it is starting to turn a little bit in the sense. I think it's a lot of positive, sort of stuff. But to know that the players have this expectation and almost it's not a presentation as such, but it's a code of conduct. It's a Cardiff way that they're all buying into. It fills me with a lot of optimism, but sort of happiness as well, if that makes sense. That they're not just joining a club just because of the money. They're actually joining the club because they believe in what Cardiff City is about now.
And yeah, I think having all those homegrown talents really helps as well, because they're players who probably have their dream to play for Cardiff City, and the specific club Cardiff City, not just a dream to play at the top level. Because I'm sure, again, it's not wrong to have a motive or motivation but there's a lot of players now, and we haven't seen so many Welsh players in a squad at one time. I mean, Christ, it was a rare thing. If you have one Welsh player in your squad, you kind of sort of feel like, we have to try and include at least one Welsh player, or at least on the bench before. That was kind of how I felt about it. And now we're seeing them left, right, and centre. And, even if they're not all Welsh, they're coming through the academy that way because they've been signed from elsewhere. I mean, it amazes me how we just have so many homegrown talents now. And again, they're not just being chucked in there for the sake of it. They're chucked in there because they are good enough. And I just saw that Jonathan said as well for Plymouth, they signed that Tolai or whatever from Port Vale. I think he's a decent striker. Well, he faced us in Port Vale, and he was probably their best player, I would say. I think it was a good signing from Plymouth to get him because he's quite tall and physical and everything. I think he might be their biggest threat for us on Saturday. But I don't know about any others. But I think Plymouth will have a later push. I think they'll definitely make playoffs this season, or maybe just miss out. But I'm sure they would be back stronger the season afterwards anyway if they didn't go straight back up. I think it'd be unrealistic to expect all three relegated teams to go straight back up, but it has happened before. I think it's a more rare thing.
Sorry, just touching back on something you were talking about the academy, and that long gone. If you look over the years, the amount of young players that Cardiff City have released or lost to some of the bigger teams, the Bianchis, etc. Whereas now we're in a position that over the next sort of 12 to 18 months, some of these players are going to be worth some great values. Ruben, we can all have an opinion, but he's got to be worth at least 10 million. At the end of the season, is Joel going to be worth 5 or 6 million? Where's Bagan 2 or 3 million? We're going to be, have a goalkeeper potentially we signed for 1.6 million pounds. It's probably going to be worth 6 or 7 million. You look across the pitch and there's players of real value, and they're only young, they're Welsh, they're developing. They're only going to go on to bigger and better things, and we've never been in that position. We've had crops where we've had a Ramsey come through, a Joe Ledley, and then there's a list of players that have nearly made it but sort of haven't stepped on. But to have such a core of youngsters is so exciting. But the transfer values, if anyone's going to try and take any of our players during this window, the next window, they're going to have to pay a premium. City don't need to, as we know, we don't need to sell. The finances are starting to look better. The league position is good. We're investing. So, my God, to take a Ruben off us, to take a Salek off us, you're going to have to sort of pay top buck, aren't you?
Yeah, I think you're looking in the region of 12 mil minimum. That's how I'd value that. I mean, Ruben, I don't know, right? Because Salek's only just joined, so it's like he's still going to be fresh blood, and he's still going to be worth almost as much as what we bought him for, if not more. Well, the fact that he sort of gone.
I was going to say, if Ruben was English, how much would he be worth? And you look at the young English players going for 25, 30, 40 million pounds at that sort of age. And you get the standards. But because he plays for Wales, people then it was the same with the Ramsey thing. He was sort of £5 million when he's,
It's crazy.
Exciting times, isn't it? Exciting times.
At least that means if we find any Welsh talents, we'll sign on the cheap anyway. No. I don't know about that, but no, I think it's a good point, really, because I didn't really think about that before. It is a little bit the case, isn't it? But I mean, then again, we're playing in an English league. I'm not sure if that makes much difference. But then also think as well that, like, if you think of English players, right, they're probably going to want to play for their national team, and they're going to want to play somewhere close to where, maybe in London somewhere. Like, that is usually a lot of English players' dreams, and we got to, honor that. But I think it's just so nice that we have players who are playing in the stadium, which could be the same stadium they play for their national team, which is just mad to think about it. And I'm surprised they moved it from the Principality to here, but I'm not arguing at all because
better atmosphere.
It's nice. Oh, honestly, you fill up the stadium there, don't you? I mean, it's it's a lot different, but yeah, I said my age earlier. I'm 29 years older than you. It's all right, mate. Don't worry about that. You're. I was going to do the maths, but I couldn't. You're 50-something years young. That's how I see it. And only season I could actually see every home game at Ninian, we got relegated. Oh, that's a shame, mate. Honestly, everyone's putting the age in the comments now. Like, just see how much older you are. Make me feel like a baby again. I'm a youth prospect coming in CardiffCityWorld. Don't worry. I just still going now. Still going. Anyway. Let's sum up now. We got 5 minutes to 10 o'clock, so better sum up. Predictions for Saturday. What we reckon? Are we optimistic, or are we still going to go on the pessimistic train?
No, I think it's going to be another convincing win. I think Cardiff City are going to get 2 or 3 goals. I think they'll finally concede at home. But I don't know. I just feel that Salak's going to be too much for him. I just feel like Ruben's going to be the Ruben show. But I do feel like fancy a centre after score, and I think Will Fish is going to get one against these. I know that Matt and that have been saying it, but I don't know. I don't see Brian's train slowing down at the moment. And if anything, that cleverly interview will just spur us on a little bit more.
Oh, I can't wait. Nobody said that. I'm going to watch it and just like replay. You know what would be like the most salty thing ever for them to do, right? Is Cardiff City FC on Instagram and Twitter to post like a little snippet of that, and then like Ruben Cole scores a goal, cut to Ruben Cole scores, then he plays in another part and just cuts back, and oh my god, this is football heritage, as a once great football man just said. 2-0 City and cleverly crying in his yard. Oh god, it's more than fine for him to say what he said. It's just I love when managers give out bold predictions, because it's just chef's kiss, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to back it, haven't you? You've got to back it.
I was literally going to say, you know what? I say 4-0, screw it, but we're going to do it again. Honestly, I think we won 5-0 against them at home last. And to be fair, they had a man sent off. But if we're being honest, we were going to pump them at least 3-0, even with 11 players at the time. I mean, we already scored twice, and that was enough to, make their heads go. But then again, we had a man sent off, and it went the other way then. So it's crazy how that happens.
That's the thing, if Cardiff City can get an early goal against anyone and draw anybody out on the counter-attack, we look absolutely scary, don't we?
Yeah, honestly. And yes, Mark, it is past my bedtime now, because I gotta get up at 5 a.m, because I got work, unlike some people. No, I'm only messing. But yeah, so we got 3-0, prediction by Chris Hayward. You said you'd been optimistic when I said 3-0 Rotherham, Evan. I'll go up to 4-0 this time. I think I predict 3-0 as well, or maybe it's 2-0 for Rotherham. I can't remember, but I think you predicted it correct, yeah. And I still feel like we're yet to batter a team. I mean, I thought we'd play really well against Rotherham, but I thought we could have got another one. I know I'm being asking for a lot, but I think they were lucky to concede 3, if I'm being honest, because if Salak was properly on his day, I think he did score, didn't he? But he's such a deadly striker in the Championship, so it makes no sense for him to be any less deadly in League One now. I think we kind of thought he would be scoring about 20 goals by now, but at the same time, he's playing it alongside completely new squad now, isn't he? Just like Ruben is. I think he looks like he's enjoying it anyway, regardless of who scores, which is really nice to see. Players smiling a lot more, which is something we haven't seen for a bit, which is really encouraging.
It's a transition for the centre forwards as well, especially when you have a new sort of shape as well. They've probably got the biggest part to play in it, and I think Salek's obviously got to adapt to that. But we're winning all these games, and we're talking about us not cooking properly yet.
Yeah. It's scary to think we haven't even scraped the service, mate. I feel like Sousa said it. 6-0 is coming in soon. We just click. I remember when we were chanting when we were up like 4-0 against Plymouth last season. Everyone was chanting, "We want 5, we want 5," and then we scored the 5th, and they chanted, "We want 6." That was the funniest thing ever, honestly. And to be fair, to have that feeling, I think we got relegated bottom. It's absolutely crazy, but it shows how poor Plymouth were at the start. Well, they had Wayne Rooney, didn't they? And he was in the stands. Oh my God. I do feel bad for Plymouth because when they signed him, I was like, I'm sorry, Plymouth and all that. And people were saying, "Oh yeah, you're down." But to be fair to them, they did pull a good fight at the end of the season. I think it was too late by then, wasn't it? So yeah. Anyway, right. So you had the predictions. What did you say again? You going for your predictions?
3-1, I'm going.
3-1, and I say 4-0. I'm backing it. I might be tempted for 6-0, like Sue says, but I'll stick with 4-0, not to get too far ahead of myself. But a lot of people putting some bold predictions in there. We'll be back. Well, I won't be back, but we'll be back with content tomorrow or every single day. We've got content, Cardiff City World. I've even forgot to mention, if you're not already a member, please do price of a cup of coffee. Sai will kill me now that I did mention that earlier, but I can see most of you in the chat are already members, which is amazing to see. Loads of regulars in there. Thank you so much for getting involved, putting your comments in. And thank you, Aaron, as well, for joining me tonight.
No, thank you. No, great. I appreciate it, Evan.
That's all right. Anytime that I'm on. And we'll see you all soon, hopefully, for 4-0 win on the weekend. See you all soon.
Rascal Beats.
For your Caesar. Cardiff City, ride with me for your Caesar.